Good evening. I want to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners, and welcome. We're happy to have all of you here with us tonight. We are going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Police Chief John Slaughter.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. For our invocation tonight, Deacon Philip Lyde from Wendell First Baptist Church is going to lead us in our invocation. Good evening, and thank you so much for being with us tonight.
First, giving honor to God through his son, Jesus Christ, we want to say thank you for bringing us here today. We thank you for everyone who is here this evening, people who have statements to do business, and not just business, but righteous business according to your will, Lord. We thank you, we ask you, and we praise you in accordance to everyone here, the town of Wendell, the constituents, the politicians, the lawmakers, decision makers, and everyone doing business to grow this great town. Lord, we ask you to continue to cover us as times are dark these days. Let us always see your light. Let the shadow of your Son be the light of Christ so that everyone can see you in all aspects and all things. Let us conduct business as you would have us to do, and let us continue to develop relationships that far exceed just transactional but transformational through your Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Our public comment period. The public may participate in public comment by signing up for public comment the night of the meeting at the podium by the door. You have 3 minutes to speak, or you may submit written statements via email to the town clerk by Friday before the meeting on Monday by 5 p.m., and they will be read into the record for a length of 3 minutes. And we have no one signed up tonight. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move into section 4, our recognitions, reports, and presentations. Item 4A is a proclamation recognizing September 26, 2025 as National Human Resource Professionals Day. You know, I can't just let you sit there.
Oh, wow.
And we are going to recognize Debbie Kennedy, our HR administrator. Whereas Human Resource Professionals Day is celebrated on the 26th of every September in recognition and appreciation for HR professionals for the important work they do to support all town employees, and whereas HR professionals help employees adapt to an ever-changing and competitive environment while responding to workplace needs and economic challenges, and whereas these professionals enable a positive organizational development and serve as strategic partners to meet public service goals by recruiting and retaining qualified, diverse candidates for employment, recognizing employee achievements, projecting trends in the market, and providing workforce planning, developing equitable compensation and benefit structures, and preserving the integrity of the organization by ensuring compliance with state and federal laws. And whereas HR professionals aren't often given credit for their work, but Human Resources Professional Day aims to honor and give credit to human resource professionals and encourages people to learn more about human resource jobs and their importance to companies. And whereas HR Professionals Day is an opportunity to show appreciation for human resource professionals and the valuable work they do every day, now, therefore, on behalf of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners, I, Virginia Gray, Mayor of the Town of Wendell, do hereby designate September 26, 2025 as Human Resource Professionals Day in the Town of Wendell, and further extend appreciation to our HR professional, Debbie Kennedy, and to all HR professionals for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the the communities they represent. Duly proclaimed this the 22nd day of September 2025, and it's signed by me. So, Miss Debbie, we just wanted to have you here and recognize you and thank you for everything you do for us here in Wendell. And it probably is a thankless job a little bit, a behind-the-scenes kind of job, but it's very important. We thank you for it.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Yes, ma'am. And I have proclamation for you. Let's get a picture. All right, item 4B is a proclamation recognizing October 2025 as National Community Planning Month. And we're going to have Brian Coates stand here, so I like to have a person up here. So, whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, and rural areas and other places, and whereas planners can help navigate this change in a way, excuse me, that provides better choices for how people work and live, and whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community, and whereas the full benefits of planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation, and whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America, and whereas the American Planning Association endorses National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to every community and how planners can lead communities to equitable, resilient, and long-lasting results. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of the planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the town of Wendell. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by community planners of the town of Wendell and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners, I, Virginia Gray, Mayor of the town of Wendell, do hereby designate the month of October 2025 as Community Planning Month in the town of Wendell in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month. Duly proclaimed this the 22nd day of September 2025, and it's signed by me. We just wanted to have you here tonight, and please extend our thanks to all of your staff, your team, for everything they do for us in Wendell.
You're welcome. Yeah, dedicated staff. We do a lot, and so thank you for giving us this recognition. I am thrilled because I don't think the other departments get a whole month. I think they get a week. So I feel like planning's finally,
says jewel in the
we
crown a little
finally
bit.
get our representation of having a whole month. So I
It might
appreciate
say
it.
that.
Thank you.
Kind of says that a little bit. All right, let's come take a quick
Yep.
picture. All right, item 4C is the June 2025 and August 2025 monthly financial reports. Our finance director is here. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, thank you. Item 4D is the Green Mountain Cemetery Master Plan update by town planning staff and by our consultant, W.C. Frey. We'll hear from Mr. Coates.
Yep. Good evening, Mayor. So before you tonight is our consultants who are working on the cemetery master plan that was funded out of last year's this last year's CIP funds to do this master plan for the cemetery. I think it's very common that the cemetery needs some TLC after all these years, and so our consultants are here tonight. The cemetery's been in existence since 1907. It's roughly almost 6 acres. We have plenty of space for future burials and growth. So this master plan's key for us moving forward of not only making some improvements, but planning for the future of the cemetery. So I'll have our consultants, Wendy Fry and Larry Sloan, come up. We have a slide presentation for you. Tonight, we're just doing a presentation for you to ask any questions and gather some information. We'll come back to you for adoption with a master plan for the cemetery. We can also field any questions you may have as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name's Larry Sloan, and I'm going to lead this off. Wendy actually gets the fun of drawing all the pretty pictures and the fun stuff of beautifying the site. They have me look at the business side of this. And, you know, it's always great. I've done a lot of work around the United States over the long many years now that I'm getting ancient. And it's always fun to come to a community like Wendell and to learn about it, to meet you, to see the town team, to learn about what you're about. And it's been very interesting. I've looked at a lot of municipal cemeteries in my career, and you have kind of a unique situation here. I mean, you have a community amenity that really doesn't require a lot of town support financially. You've fallen into a place where you have the funeral directors arranging the services and the burials, and you have an outside lawn care company relatively affordably maintaining a small site. And you have staff who are sharing their duties in zoning management or something and the cemetery, and they're doing a great job. I think it's important to say that the people that are doing this have just really gone out of their way. They have excellent records that they've put together. They're dedicated to doing this. They care about it, and that's really important, I think. And you know, the cemetery is small. It's an important community amenity, and I think it's probably not very recognized in the community because I think it is underutilized. And you know, we looked. You're providing about 20 services, burials each year in the cemetery, and 4 to 6 of those are cremated remains. The balance are casketed burials. You're selling about 15 lots a year. You sell all of your lots as 2 grave lots. And so that's about 30 spaces a year that are being sold in the cemetery. And the cemetery, if we could go to this map slide, that would be great, current cemetery capacity. The cemetery has ample capacity going forward. The older sections have about 120 spaces that your staff have identified as not sold. There's always a question when you're going back almost 100 years whether that's accurate or not, and I think it is accurate, but we have some plans for those spaces that I think mitigates any concerns. And in the new section C, you have 628 spaces, so you know, at 30 a year, that's a long time, and you know, that's a good thing. Wendy's going to go into some of the things that we're doing to add to that inventory with looking at your roads and some of the infrastructure pathways that exist and how we might utilize those in different manners. We believe it's fair to say that without question, with the growth of cremation in the United States and in North Carolina, and with the growth of your population, all looking at the demographics, that it's fair to say that the cemetery will have a 35-year active life without question. And that's a long time. It's not 100 years, but I think it's an ample time to not feel like you need to be looking at doing a new cemetery or adding property. It's a landlocked site. I think, you know, we don't know with certainty when you look out past 20 years. My crystal ball is not really good after 20 years. And, you know, I'm a part of the baby boomer generation when we're expired, and the millennials are in the driver's seat. Are they going to care about cemeteries differently? We don't know that yet because they're too young to have identified any real trends. So I think a 35-year future life is adequate and meets the needs of the community, and you're doing a good job not to look at investing in some other site or doing something different in the short term. The inventory in sections B and C and D could be utilized without any concern if they were subdivided into lots for urn gardens, for cremation burials, because you're not excavating very deeply. And so if we took those 120 spaces and laid them out in 4-foot by 5-foot cremation plots for 2 cremated remains and markers, then that would add another 240 spaces to the cemetery over time, and actually 480 burials. So I think that's something that you could do and quite easily do. And It's the same grave size we're maintaining. Everything we're doing, we're maintaining what is going on in the cemetery without changing it, so you don't have a new training protocol or different maps or different rules. And so we're trying to really maintain that in that manner. Yeah, I don't think you've been very attentive to the fees that you're charging. I think we believe that you should continue with the resident, non-resident structure because you do that with so many things in the town, excuse me. And so we think we should keep that approach. But to require people to buy 2 spaces just seems, I don't know why you do that. I think that if I wanted just one, I should be able to buy one. And so we're thinking that we would move the prices. Right now you charge $1,200 for 2 spaces. That's $600 per space. And the closest municipal cemetery to you charges $1,250 per space or $2,500 for the 2 spaces. So you're literally less than half the price of that cemetery. And when you look at Raleigh and what the 4 not-for-profit or for-profit cemeteries in the region, they're charging all over $2,500 per space or $5,000 for 2 spaces. So your $600 price is quite a bargain. And we would recommend that you move that to $900 and to $1,400 for the non-resident, which is currently $1,200 per space. The city also, town, excuse me, also charges a memorial deposit. And frankly, I've never seen this before. It's quite interesting. You deposit $600 with the town. You have 6 months to secure a marker, and if you buy the marker and secure it, then you refund to the family that $600. And I think probably this is something that was done historically because there was some problem that this was causing and solving. It really doesn't work today. You're selling a 2-space lot. You're getting $600 as a deposit, and the markers today cost much more than that for 2 markers, and then are you refunding only half of it when you get the first marker? It's creating a burden for the town's finance department that doesn't really know what to do with this, and if you don't do it in 180 days, what happens? And so we think that should be just discontinued, and that we should work with the city, the town finance department. I think if you look at it, the people that have paid the $600 in 2025, they could simply be refunded the money. The people that did between 2022 and 24 could be evaluated. You had 24 lot owners that gave you the $600. Some of them have given a refund, some of them haven't. The temporary markers haven't been removed on some of them have. And just sort of evaluate that one client at a time and clean it up. And then for the people that were supposed to do this in 180 days and haven't done it since 2022, our recommendation is you simply move those funds to the general fund and through a write-off process, just clean this up on your financial statements. And it's a small amount of money to begin with, and it's just, I don't think you want to invest a tremendous amount of time and energy trying to figure out any other better solution. And you know, people have a choice to buy a memorial. We obviously would believe that everyone should have a marker and be identified, but if they don't choose to, that's their choice, and I don't think we should try to mandate it. The burial process, as I said, is that the funeral directors are essentially providing for the service with an interment contractor. It's working very well. Your town staff has worked very well with the contractors, with the funeral directors. And we just see that as a great way to not get you into a place of having capital expenditures and more employees, and this just works well for you. We think you should allow for a single grave purchases, and we think you should remove the memorial deposit. Another process or form that you're doing is you're issuing a deed when I buy my 2-grave lot. And the deed is not actually a deed to anything. It's not being registered anywhere. It's because I'm not buying the land. The town retains title to the land, and I'm buying the perpetual burial rights. And so we think you should just simply discontinue the use of deeds. It's just an administrative thing that everyone gets sort of hung up on. And really, my receipt and my contract are what I need as my proof of purchase and proof of ownership. And the deed is really sort of symbolic as opposed to substantive. And so that would save a little bit of process and time in terms of staff. And we think it's something that should be done. It's sort of like getting everything you have notarized, and that's sort of a thing of the past. A big question for us was the question, should you have a perpetual care fund? You do not have a perpetual care fund today, an invested fund set aside for the future maintenance of the cemetery. The cemetery is 5.5 acres. There's no buildings. The maintenance cost is relatively low. The current contract for lawn care is $10,800 annually, and it's well maintained. If the town were to set up a perpetual care fund, you would be regulated. You would have issues of how you can invest those funds as a municipality, and it limits the effectiveness of it. And then in the cemetery, you're in your last corner of the cemetery. You're in new section C, and all those other sections have been sold. And so the idea that you're going to develop a large fund over the period of the next 20 years is very remote. And even at higher prices, to me, I just don't think you should do it. There's no reason to create the energy in the finance department to figure all this out when you're looking at probably having more revenues from current lot sales than expense. And so we feel very comfortable with where you are economically and how you're operating. I think it just kind of works. I don't know exactly how it evolved, but I think you've been very fortunate that it has evolved. The one sort of area of concern is this issue of the decoration policy. And a couple of years ago, you started removing everything in the cemetery that was decorative, placed by lot owners twice annually. And this created this sort of impact of anxiety and concern, because you're going to take my flowers off. Well, I'm going to get you. I'm going to come and put them back tomorrow. And then they sit there for 6 months, and we do this again. We had conversations with your staff and with the lawn care contractor, and we feel that the better policy is to establish rules of what's allowed and not allowed, and to enforce these on an everyday basis. And then you're a community, you're a town with a small cemetery, and if there's someone that needs to be communicated with, you have the way to contact them. You know who owns it, and we should make an effort to go out and reach out to them and say, you can't do this here, and we really want to solve this problem and not have this being some sort of ongoing acrimony. So we would recommend that you establish the regulations that artificial and fresh flowers are allowed to be placed on the lots, and when they become unsightly, they're going to be removed. And the Christmas decorations are obviously, the winter decorations are obvious what they are, and depending on how we do with warming and our trends of when evergreen wreaths turn brown, we're going to remove those when they're unsightly, and by March 15th, we're certainly going to remove all of the Christmas decorations. And just keep it simple. I mean, we can't have glass and things that would challenge the security or safety of the staff. You don't want shepherd hooks and coping and curbing and decorative rocks and those types of things. And just have those conversations with individual lot owners as this comes up, and not try to have some deadline of sort of, we're going to challenge each other. And keep the cemetery relatively simple as you have. On the flags, I think flags are very important in a cemetery. The veterans' graves are very important, and certainly to have flags in the cemetery on Memorial Day, Flag Day, July 4th, and Veterans Day is important. To limit the size of them and to limit the number of days there. You can't just keep them there because of the lawn care. They're going to be damaged. You don't want the flags being damaged and left on the ground. So they need to be removed in 10 days or something like that. But again, these are policies that can be really easily maintained if everyone just communicates with each other. And you have to be a little bit sensitive. If I've lost a son and he's buried 12 weeks ago and I'm coming every day and I'm being kind of a pain in the neck, that's okay. That's why we're here. That's what this is, a cemetery. And so a year from now, if I'm still doing this, then I have to have a conversation. We can't have this. In section C, the new section C, when it first opened, there was a rule requiring that all the memorials be lawn level. And you changed that. You basically eliminated that rule, but didn't replace it with anything. So today, theoretically, I can do whatever I want on my lot as long as it fit within that 8 feet by 11 foot space. I think you really want to have some minimum rules, and one of those would be to have granite memorials, not necessarily other materials, and to limit the size of the lawn level markers, the bevel markers, and the slant markers, and on memorials that cross 2 graves to have a limit on the length and height and width of those stones as a maximum. so that you can just have something to base having controls on. And, you know, you have this in writing. I feel that just these minimum rules, I think if you can still, on a case-by-case basis, if someone comes in and wants something unique, you can evaluate it. You can say, oh, you want to put a statue here, and this is really beautiful, and why don't we allow it? And you can allow it, right? It doesn't mean you can't. But for me, it's important to have sort of a minimum standard to guide the staff and to give them how to handle the customer when they're coming to the door. The staff really did a great job of creating this Excel document. And when I first saw it, I thought, man, this is really troubling. But it's not troubling, it works. And after I spent time with it, I realized what a great job they did. But I do think that it would be worth an investment to get a software system that is GIS-based, where you could, with a relatively small investment, get a true map of the cemetery and electronically, and then you could export that into a software that would send that to my telephone. So I could look up my mother's name in the records and get walking directions in the cemetery at that grave. And the technology has advanced so quickly, the pricing is coming way down, and there's several firms that do it, and it's not only great for the customers, but because there's no office or anyone at the cemetery, because now you can have the sign, you could have a QR code, you could go into your website, you can get the information. Any visitor, any time of the day or night could be doing this. But also, when I'm out there working, if I'm trying to find something, I can look up on my map in my phone. I can go out and lay out the grave or set the marker without going to the office and bringing all these maps. So it really is a tremendous tool for everybody. And I don't want to, my children don't like me talking about technology. But, you know, I think $18,000 or $20,000 and you can get this done. And I just think it's something you'd have for a very long time. So that's kind of the business side of this. Wendy's going to look at all the pretty pictures now, which is really the fun part. And, you know, making the cemetery more accessible, prettier, just helping it be a part of the community and anchor to the community is what we're trying to accomplish with this. And we really appreciate it. If you have any questions or anything, I'm here. I can come back up, and thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here in North Carolina again. I'm Wendy Fry with WC Fry Design. I'm a landscape architect by training, and so I'm going to go through the more physical aspects of the plan and the recommendations. So the first slide I want to share with you is the issues and opportunities, and from that, obviously, we've visited the cemetery several times, taken note of what's going on, met with the team at the cemetery, met with one of the grave diggers, understood his concerns. And so some of the things that we were asked to look at, I'm not going to read them all because Larry's gone through some of them, but more of the physical things. We were asked to look at establishing a tree planting program, allowing upright monuments in all sections, screening, road closures, signage, dog waste stations, friends group, and then a monument maintenance program and a cremation garden. And then, as Larry said, allow the sale of individual graves. So one of the things that we noticed right off when you get to the cemetery is the roads are really narrow. If you've ever been there, they're really narrow. And when you have two cars passing, it's really hard to do, especially if someone's brand new there or uncomfortable driving and passing at the same time. It's just really tight. That became a main feature that we made our recommendations around. And then there's actually one section between the upper level, the oldest section, and the next section down. So A and C and then B and D. That road actually dead ends. I don't have a light on here. But it dead ends in a set of steps. So if you drive to the end of that road, you can either drive down the steps or back all the way up. So that was also important to our recommendations. We also looked at the physical features of the land, the drainage, the hydrology. And interesting to note that when the people taking care of the lawn and the cemetery itself said, well, we can't really, and it's in your records too, but we can't really sell these graves because it's really wet. So when I went and plotted the hydrology and looked at the aerial photos, exactly where they said is exactly what was going on. It's a much wetter area just because of drainage. And that's just something that we look at, and it's probably not going to change because those sections are so old. And then new section C, which is in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm going to be talking more about that one in particular. So this framework plan takes a lot of the opportunities, looks at your issues, and makes some high-level recommendations for moving forward. And one of the main things that we looked at was road closures. So the couple of roads that you see in the bright pink or magenta color, some going east-west, some going north-south, those are the roads that we're recommending to be closed, especially that one that ends in the steps. Those are the older sections. There's not as much visitation to those, and you can still get very close to those sections by driving north-south. We understand now, today, that when a funeral comes in, they come in from the bottom right or the southeast corner of the cemetery, and they drive forward, turn left, and circle around back towards the south. And that's for the funerals taking place in C. So the road closures don't have to happen day one, although I think that one between the one that goes east-west should occur soon. It's not really necessary, and it would save, I think, some issues with people having to back up in that section. And then the others can happen over time as the funerals lessen in new sections A and B. But even again, those can be solved or serviced by the roads that we're leaving in place. We're recommending implementation of a tree planting program. We would like to see you have signage for the cemetery. I picked out 3 locations where you should have cemetery identity signs, and that's at the bottom between new section C and block G, directly north of that at the top, and then on the west side. There's one road that will remain, and we would like to see you put in signage there as well. And we also understand that the residents in the area to the west of the cemetery are really interested in using this more for walking. They kind of see this as their green space, and that's great. We like that. That's a good thing. They have eyes on the cemetery. They visit it frequently, and it is their front yard. And historically, cemeteries were town open spaces. In conjunction with cemetery signage, we'd like you to identify each of the different sections by a smaller sign that says Block D, Block F, Block G, that sort of thing. And then we'd also like to see you incorporate some dog waste stations. It's good that dogs and their people can walk through the cemetery, but let's make it easy for them to clean up, because I'd hate to see you get to the point where you don't want dogs there at all, which is unfortunately what we have seen in some cemeteries. I also wanted to point out on this slide that if you look at the top black and white photo, you can see that there were trees throughout the cemetery historically, and we want to see you go back to that. So this is the master plan, so these are the specific recommendations for the physical plan. So we talked about taking out the east-west road in the top third of the cemetery. So if you take out that road, you'll be able to incorporate burial in that area. And so that can be a full-body burial. So we use your existing grave size, and we align those burials with the existing burials within the cemetery, and you get a number of new burials. I think it was 124 by doing that. 190, thank you. So there's east-west burials that way, and then along the west or eastern property line, once that road's removed, you can also have full-body burials there. Infill cremation. So in the older sections, there's areas where there's no record of burial, and we're recommending cremation in there. So you take one full-body burial, split it in half, and you have 2 cremation lots. So you can actually have people or give people the opportunity to do a cremation burial in the older part of the cemetery. So it keeps that section active. People like kind of the history of it, so they can choose that. It makes use of a space that hasn't been used before. And it gives you opportunity to provide for cremation burial and also to get some income from that, because right now cremation burials are just a cremation burial on top of an existing full body burial. So you're actually getting a little bit of income from this. In section C, new section C in the bottom right, there's a blow up of that to the right. And that's where we're recommending you develop a cremation garden. So within that, there'll be niches. Niches are like 12 by 12 with a granite front. It's a structure above ground, maybe 4 high. And I have 4 blocks in there where you could develop or bring in niches, load them, I don't know, it's too technical, but 2-sided for cremation burials above ground. You can have a flagpole in the center of this. There's an opportunity for seating, and then bringing people into that section with a sidewalk so that it's easy to get there. And there's flexibility to move that within the section. Doesn't have to be in the center, it could be closer to the road. But the idea is you have to work around the existing burials, the things that have already been sold, which are what are mapped in gray. So that's how I picked the area that I picked. Again, more landscape at the entrances with the cemetery sign, more trees, section signage. And then I did a couple sketches for you. So the top one is an example of an existing road where you have that 10 or 12-foot road, ditches on either side, so it's difficult to navigate. And what we're recommending is that you institute a storm sewer system, so you actually pipe the stormwater drainage underground as opposed to in a ditch, connect that to the public road, and then you can pave that road. You can make it wider because you've gotten rid of the ditch, and then you can have room for a parked car and a passing car, and you can even put some trees in there. And then you can pave the road. It's actually, it would be nice not to do the stone. We understand the stone that's there moves around a lot. It's a maintenance problem, so to actually pave it with asphalt. And then the bottom sketch is just an idea for defining the entry with a sign that's got your nice logo and your, I don't know, your signs kind of go on an angle. So implement that concept with some landscape, some trees, some flowering perennials, that sort of thing. And then the top sketch, top right, that's an illustration of how you can take one full-size body burial space and split it in half and get 2 cremation spaces. And that's in the areas of the oldest section. The next sketch is where we would close a road, and you can have options for 1 full body burial, or you can still sell the doubles. You could have the upright monument. And this is done on the rhythm that's already within the cemetery. So you're going to end up with some green space or some pathways in between some of the sections. You really have to go out in detail and look at what's there and lay it out. But that gives you more in-ground burial. So the other thing that we looked at, and we worked with Richard Grubb, they're actually based in Wake Forest, and they're cultural resources people and cemetery historians. And we looked at a lot of the monuments out there, and honestly, granite or not granite, they're in relatively good shape, but there's a lot of vegetative growth on them. And you don't always see a lot of that on granite, but the idea is that it does make it hard to read the signs, the names, the dates, that sort of thing. And then you have these long, flat ledger monuments. 2 of those are pictured up there. And you can see that just because of the rainwater and the silt and what have you, I don't know that these have ever been cleaned, but it does make it hard to read what's been written. And it is something that well, actually, we talked to the Historical Society, and they were very interested in working with the cemetery and with the town. And they're really great. They've done things with you for you before. They're really interested in helping out more. And they could partner with you to do like a monument cleaning workshop or monument cleaning days. And it's something that volunteers could do. It's easy. There's nothing dangerous about simple cleanings like getting rid of the lichen and the silt and that sort of thing. And they were happy to get involved that way. And so you could have a day a year, a couple days a year, and it's mostly water, and then there's a cleaner called D2 that the National Park Service uses, and you just wet down the stone, scrub it with a soft brush, rinse it, and then let the sunlight do the rest of the work, and the monument looks so much better afterwards, and actually gets better over time because the sun and the D2 continue to work together. And then, like this one, leaning marble, Woodman of the World marker, it's the bottom center. That one's leaning a little bit. That's not something that we think that volunteers should get involved with. You really need to hire a company like Richard Grubb to come back and help reset those. But that's something you really need to think about, because should a monument fall, which we all know that happens in older cemeteries, it can be very dangerous. This is an example of a cleaning workshop that they did. I think this was in Mississippi, but you can see the top row compared to the next row down, how much cleaner those monuments are, and that's just after a few hours of work. And it looks so great, and it lasts. The other thing that the Friends group could do in conjunction with the Historical Society is do tours, do walking tours, do national history, women's history, black history, I don't know, founders of Wendell history, you know, whatever. But they've done some successful tours for you, and it would be great, I think, for everybody to continue to do that. And again, like I said, lead workshops like this one. I think that was my last slide, yeah. So let's open it up to questions.
Okay. Anything from the board so far?
Yeah, I've got.
Me too. You go ahead, start. Nope, go ahead.
Thank you. Very excited. I think you're going to get a lot of conversation out of this group on this one, so thanks in advance for that. I'm just going to kind of run down. Some of these are quick. Some of these may be a little bit more in-depth, but whoever feels most interested in answering. First, do you have a definitive answer, I assume from your presentations, on the spelling of the cemetery? Is it Greenmont or Greenmount?
We had that same discussion. Our
both.
architectural historian said Greenmount,
Okay. Just interested in what you found.
although it looks like I misspelled it on this.
I think it's
I don't
Mount
know.
at the bottom. I've seen
No,
M-O-U-N-T in
it's
most
missing
everything.
an N in it, I'm sorry. That's my mistake.
That's okay.
Okay. Oh, the first N, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mount or Mont is the one I've always seen sort of
We-
interchangeably.
That's where our architectural historian said Greenmount.
Okay.
M-O-U-N-T.
On the map of the cemetery, there's like 4 different colors used. Is there significance to the coloration of?
This?
Maybe yeah, I guess it's that. It's the base map of this one, but of the actual blocks or sections.
So blocks at the top, A, B, C, D are the oldest.
Okay.
And then the next 2 down, F and G, are kind of mid-range. And then going from the top down again, A is older than B, B is older than C, C's the newest.
I just saw your legend there on the right. Sorry, I see it
The
now.
light green colors are more active.
Got it.
They're still active today. The other sections are pretty much dormant.
Okay.
That too.
Anything, did y'all's work sort of have any feedback or additional direction to just the basic landscape and maintenance? I know contemplating a lot of new landscaping would change the nature of how we're maintaining the landscaping, but just, I mean, even grass cutting and weed eating, I think some of those basic level things are things that we've heard about in the past. You have sort of best practices to share or any feedback on the current way that we've been maintaining the existing landscaping?
So no feedback or changes recommended for the turf.
Okay.
I think.
That's really all that's there, but that's what I'm
But it's well done.
asking. Okay.
And the trees that we're recommending you put in, that's again, it makes it a much more beautiful destination.
Yeah.
And people enjoy trees. And it's also a nod to the history of the cemetery. I mean, you had trees there, so we're recommending putting them back. And especially, like, I didn't put trees everywhere. I really concentrated them along the roads, so they shouldn't interfere with burials. You can do more, you can do less, but I always like to use canopy trees more, just because, you know, like maples or oaks, because they're long-lasting and they're easier for for people to walk under, because you can limb them up typically after they get going a little bit to 6-foot height. I always like to recommend the use of native trees. So not to say you couldn't put dogwoods or crabs at the entrances where I showed pink trees, but natives and canopy trees.
Great, that's very helpful. And on the landscaping front, one thing sort of about the overall recommendations that I think is a flag, and will just, in my mind, it'll be something for us to talk about in future budgeting conversations about capacity, but is the concept of paving the streets and installing a stormwater system. Sort of, in your mind, are there two very distinct routes that we need to choose to go down of pave the roads and have one landscaping option? I'm specifically thinking about the space you would have for the trees and also the way the trees might interact with the infrastructure, or like, are they really two separate things? You can do the trees, you can do the paving, you can do both. I'm just thinking, like, what if we weren't gonna pave it? Could we still do a version, like, does this landscaping concept still make sense from a landscape design perspective, or is that contingent on the paving and the stormwater
I think
system?
you're gonna have a lot more space and a lot more flexibility if you pave the roads and get rid of the ditch, because you don't really want to put the trees in the bottom of the ditch.
Sure.
And so you're not gonna have that space until you pave the road.
Okay, that's helpful. Are you good if I keep going? Okay. Thinking about those infill spaces in some of the older sections, thoughts or best practices on whether the information that you have available and we currently have available is sufficient to identify unused spaces versus something more in depth with Grubb or somebody like them to do like a full GPR? Is that overkill? What do people do on that
No,
front?
well, we have different opinions on this, but, if you think, based on your records, that this area in Block C has no burials, you can have them do GPR there just to confirm your suspicion. It's not gonna tell you that who was buried there, if there was someone buried there, but it will give you a good indication if the soil has been, are you familiar with GPR?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm saying is, it will give you an indication of if the soil was disturbed or not. If, sometimes, it really looks like there was a burial there, but it can't say this person was in this exact spot. And if they're old enough, you may or may not find any remains there.
In my opinion, these areas are open.
Okay.
There's no indication ever that there was ever anyone who purchased it. There's no indication anyone was ever buried there. But
And you're comfortable with the records that do exist from that
person
time?
who's done the record keeping doesn't want to make that decision.
Gotcha. Okay, that's very helpful. I'm interested in the memorial deposit concept, and so that may be back a little bit more on your side. Did you learn through this process whether we have ever gone sort of to the final step, either in recent or more distant history, that I assume is contemplated through this policy of purchasing a marker for someone who didn't purchase a marker, like a cheap one with the money that they gave us? Okay.
They're so expensive now, the $600 doesn't cover it.
Are there examples, sort of best practice in other places that, it sounds like maybe not, because I think you mentioned you hadn't seen this before, where we could increase the amount to I don't love the idea, and I think maybe that would just be a staff thing. I do have a little bit of heartburn about openly facilitating unmarked burials in the town cemetery. I mean, some of that's a policy question. I appreciate the concept that maybe people should have that right. I don't know that I'm totally sold on that, on the town cemetery being the appropriate place for that.
There's a lot of different approaches, middle ground, if you will. I mean, you could do some very small memorial that was affordable, that you could put there that is permanent, the stone. And it wouldn't be that attractive. It would be durable and
Sure.
needs to be maintained. But what you're doing now doesn't work.
There would be something there then, at least.
Okay. And then just, I think I heard the word contract used as an alternative to the deed, and then I didn't really see that on the slide. I do think if you're not gonna have a deed, you should at least have a formal contract, as opposed to just a sales receipt or something like that.
You have a purchase agreement
Okay.
with Bill and then the computer, and it works well. It needs to be modified if you make these policy changes.
And then on the location of the entry signage, and very appreciative of entry signage being included in this. I think that's a big part of the challenge of this. For a relatively small cemetery, we have a whole lot of entry points into it, so it's not clear to like where do you communicate to people as they come in. And you're solving that in a couple points with some of the proposals with removal of roads. But can you talk about the location of that southern signage point at the entrance? I think I understood you to describe as like where people exit when they're entering for cemeteries, as opposed to in the far southeast corner. Does that question make sense? So
Oh, yes. When you're coming to the funeral, you're using the extreme right entry and going to the right.
and I'm asking why not entry signage there versus where you've put it on the
Oh,
The
south
problem
side?
is that sign would come on, before you even see the cemetery, you'd be past the sign.
Okay,
So I think it needs to be at that next intersection.
okay.
And yeah, I mean, especially if I was from out of town,
Mm-hmm.
I think having ownership of both sides of that road is a much more gracious entrance into the cemetery than next to the residence.
That makes sense. And then one last one. I had not seen the spreadsheet, the Excel spreadsheet before,
Yeah, I saw
so
that got a lot of
interested to see. Beyond just that and sort of the other records that you reviewed about what we know about sort of how we've managed the cemetery in its 100-plus year history, are there gaps in, like, are there other needs or opportunities for historical research that would make us better stewards of the cemetery that you identified as far, I mean, that would be reasonable things for us to work toward?
It would be interesting to have a conversation with what the Historical Society collects. You're not keeping obituaries or records, you're not really doing that kind of genealogy. And you haven't historically, so to now recreate that would be, monumental. But to look at what you're doing going forward, and especially with electronics, you can put memories in, you could do photographs into the new system, you could do all kinds of things.
That's all for me for now. Thank you.
I know that this is a delicate topic, and I appreciate some of the things that you commented about things being left on some of the graves and things. That's probably one of the most frequent concerns that I hear from citizens very often, is that they left something, and, we have to have hard conversations sometimes, and, they can't just, it's very delicate, and I want them to be able to go out like you said, and it's hard. It's really hard. That's a hard thing. So I like the idea of the minimums and the things like that, and kind of letting people know ahead of time, because when you have these conversations with them very often, if something's been removed, they're still kind of in the thick of it, and they're not at their best,
Correct.
maybe. And so it makes it very hard, very challenging for town staff, for everyone, and so I think that we would benefit from that ahead of time.
It's easier to do it with an ongoing process.
It
instead of
is.
a deadline of March
It is.
15th or October 15th.
Yeah, it is, and I like the idea of that, and I like the idea of having some information on the website and things like you described too. And I love the idea of the upgrades to the roads and the landscaping, and yeah, there did used to be trees out there. There's an article the Historical Society emailed me a while back, and they may have shared with you about the kinds of trees and where they were and things like that. And I know we would probably need to do now what's best for us now for maintenance and that kind of thing.
There would be more walkers and more use of the site if it was shaded.
Yeah, there would be. I grew up in Washington, North Carolina, and everybody walks in Oakdale Cemetery. It's like the thing they do, and I think that we do need, and I just want it to be a nice place for families to go to if they want to go out there, and see where their loved one is. I want the trees and the signs and that kind of thing, and to make it nice. So that's all I can think of right now. Does anyone else have anything? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think the mayor hit on this when she said delicate. And for the record, if you're watching this and a member of your family has passed away there, a town core service provision, and I hope this is helpful, is maintenance of the cemetery. So if you're watching from home or you're telling a friend or a family member, we're asking physical questions, yes, but we understand the importance of this cemetery to you and your family and your loved ones. And I think the mayor said delicate. I think she's exactly right. And I think Commissioner Eatman's points are exactly, I'm sure the entire board would say this, but we understand the delicacy of it. With that said, let me ask a few questions. I certainly am in favor of, I'd say a discount, but a very fair price for a Wendell resident to purchase a grave, a Wendell citizen to purchase a grave, a taxpayer, literally. I'm not so sure I'm in favor of a discount to someone outside of Wendell in a very limited space situation. So if your number was 2,500 a grave for Raleigh, and we're at 14, I could see a bit more closer to market and help that pay for and subsidize some of the things we have on the chart here as one item for discussion. I think the second thing, and I love your QR code, I love to preserve history with current technology. So if we, and I see you smiling, if we could make it, and I think Commissioner Eatman hit on this too, but if we can make it better, more user-friendly, but have that history there, whatever, all those things you mentioned, I think that would be great if it can be done economically. I'm going to assume that, and I want to see the price, obviously, for the roads, the curb, the gutter. I understand that obviously if we have a municipal stormwater control measure system in place, it'll keep it cleaner, nicer, better, as long as we can afford that. I do like the fact that you're going to monetize some of the road space to help presumptively subsidize some of this effort. I think that makes sense too. And I know there's kind of a variety of things, but just to give you the feedback that I think that you want to hear. And I think too, to Commissioner Eatman's point, I'm not a huge fan for a town cemetery to be a place for unmarked graves going forward. I understand the past. We not want to mess with the history. Let's protect that part. But going forward, I'm not sure I want to subsidize that or allow it. Now, if we can find something that's in the middle or economical, yes, some sort of marker, but I'm not a huge fan of just nothing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anyone else?
I'll just make a couple comments, Madam Mayor. I do like the fact that we're setting expectations. I'm a big expectations guy, so as long as people know kind of upfront what is expected, and here are the things that we recommend, and then, you know, we kind of go from there based on delicate situations and conversations. I do like, we've mentioned community amenity more than once. I don't know that it's necessarily been treated that way up until this point. It's available and people know it's available, but, and it looks good and it's well taken care of. But I do think if we, you know, end up doing the roads, the landscaping, it just enhances that completely. I will agree with the signage placement on the second road. I've had this kind of in practice myself, traveling to other towns for funerals and going by the initial entrance and, oh, you know, we missed it. I do agree with that. I do think that we need to have some sort of a marker. I will sort of echo that from the others. And my resident historian here is Commissioner Eatman, so he's nodding his head over there for most of the things. I guess on the landscaping piece, I think now, and I have no idea what sort of turf we have and all that, but as far as a landscaping expense goes, I don't imagine that we have a whole lot of expense in the winter months. Obviously, if we add trees, that changes that dynamic. If you're a landscape designer, we're going to need places to blow leaves and that kind of thing. That's getting in the weeds and the details, but I do like the idea of trees, but we do need to consider the cost that brings. Sounds like with the changing of the prices that we're recommending, and obviously that's in today dollars and not 40 years from now dollars if it changes. But it sounds like that we will generate enough income from the sales to cover sort of the ongoing maintenance, not necessarily the improvements. But if we do change the pricing, and it will go up slightly, I would assume that we're also going to increase the interest, meaning that we'll sell more than a dozen, you know, one a month.
When you improve the site, more people will want to go there.
And then it truly becomes the community amenity, and, you know, all the things kind of fall in place. And that's, you know, sort of the idea with, you know, improve it, the demand increases, pricing can change as we go, but appreciate the time and effort that you guys have put into this. Thank you.
It's been our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll just say, I'll be honest with you, my ignorance is going to show. I mean, 12 years in, and I did not anticipate as much detail in the cemetery presentation. I mean, this is unreal. I feel like I have a whole lot to think about here. I do like the idea of the beautifying. I always felt like that was kind of a place where the cemetery was kind of put there, and then that was kind of just left in a way for people to kind of keep cleaned up on their own. So I love the idea of having some sort of the trees, the landscape. I love the idea of organization. I mean, I've walked around graveyards before, and you kind of always like to have some sort of guide of being able to find places where people were buried and not just be a search. So I really enjoyed anything with signage and technology to kind of figure out what this is. As far as a lot of the business ideas that the commissioners have said, I'm in agreement with most of that too, or about all that too, as far as going rate. But I just still kind of keep thinking that this is a kind of a hollowed ground too, and stuff. So it's, you know, it's a little different than just a regular park. And so I think there's some idea of just making it feel peaceful and serene. And I think that's all the things that are mentioned. I feel like even if we think about years ago, we talked a lot about separating the homes and creating a border because the homes don't want to see the cemetery. And I feel like sometimes when you're in a cemetery, it's a place of solace, and you also don't want to have the feeling of homes and cars driving by too. So I think that whatever can be done to also to preserve the sanctity of the cemetery is also really important as well too. So this is really neat, really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would venture to say that just even discussing this topic tonight has probably impacted the awareness of the fact that we even have a cemetery, probably 200%. It's just the truth, and I agree with Commissioner Lutz. I'm not really sure how long I was a commissioner before I realized that the cemetery was really our thing. So,
Thank y'all for being here. Sounds like we're all on the same page. I'm very excited about the landscaping and the technical improvements and signage, and I'm also excited about the modernization of the business aspect of it. I think that's important, the business practices that go along with it. So I'm excited about all of it and look forward to having y'all back. Is this the kind of things you wanted to hear from us? Input? Okay. Okay, great.
feedback.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I think we should have waited till October during planning month to present
Planning month. All right, we have no public hearings tonight, so we're going to move into our administrative items. And item 6A is an amendment to the Downtown Improvement Grant for number 8 North Main Bellow Butcher Company. Mr. Coates.
Good evening, Mayor and board members. The item before you tonight was before you back in the May 27th meeting, where you all approved a downtown improvement grant for Bellow Butcher located at 8 North Main Street with a grant of $25,500. And just to remind everyone at home listening and watching, those grant dollars are only reimbursed after construction is completed and receipts and invoices are shown paid. So the Bellow Butcher obtained all their building permits after getting their grant approved. Permits were issued, and similar to what happens in a downtown setting, is sometimes utilities are not in the place you think they are. You have to revise plans, do different things to once you get renovations started. So they submitted an amendment to their request. They are a Type 4 grant, so they're eligible up to $50,000 or 50% of the total cost. They did amend their quotes to show the additional work, so we're back before you tonight asking for an additional $9,136 be added to their original request. The applicant is here if you have any questions. They are well under renovations and hoping to open soon. But there is some additional cost that they endured, and so they are eligible to come back to you to ask for those additional funds. And so, just to remind you, the 26 budget fiscal year has $50,000 appropriated. If the additional funds are approved, a future budget amendment will be brought back to this board. I can field any questions that you have. The applicant is here as well.
Okay, thank you. Anything
You're
from
welcome.
the board? All right, no questions.
Okay.
All right,
Madam Mayor, I'm ready for a motion if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Make a motion we approve the amended downtown improvement grant request for 8 North Main Street.
All right, we have a motion to approve the amended downtown improvement grant request for number 8 North Main Street. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 6B is the adoption of the Wake County Emergency Operations Plan and Mutual Aid Agreement. Mr. Collins.
Good evening. So tonight's action is 2 actions. One is a motion, and they can be made in one motion. The first part of that being to adopt and authorize the mayor to sign the Wake County Emergency Operations Plan. And second, to accept and authorize the town manager to sign the mutual aid agreement. Just how emergency operation plans and power of declaration of emergency as a mayor authority in North Carolina, the contractual authority and implementation of things through mutual aid would be a managerial. So the 2 different documents reflecting the 2 different people signing there. These are actions that all municipalities are currently doing. This is a implementation step, a part of the all hazards plan that the board approved last year. So this is coming back with the emergency operation plan. Emergency operation plan follows the National Incident Management System, which is a FEMA process in order to receive resources from the state and federal government. You have to have this process and planning in place. So this is a necessary process. The mutual aid agreement we use regularly with other law enforcement, fire, EMS, to provide service to each other across jurisdictional boundaries. If something's happening in a neighboring jurisdiction, our officers will float that way to help cover a little bit, and likewise, if we're dealing with something, they float. So it allows for resources to be in the right places in our county for different emergency services. Both the fire chief and police chief have reviewed the documents and say this is consistent with current practice and policy. Just a little addition information for the public is our main emergency operations center for Wake County is a county function. It's not a municipal function. And they rely on federal and state resources to flow down to the county. So the state emergency management office is our primary emergency management. Then the county has the emergency operations center. As municipalities grow, their need to be able to stand up services and maintain services after incidents grows with a community. And so Wendell is growing into that space right now. Currently, we've identified 2 full shifts and a 3rd partial shift of employees to stand up a municipal emergency operations center. All staff identified are going through FEMA training. A number of us have had it in the past in other jurisdictions and early in our careers, and we're updating our training for that currently. After that, we'll be developing a tabletop exercise and working through that, receiving input from the state and county on that, as well as just some basic trainings of how to use safety equipment and different respond to basic incidents for general staff. With that, I'd love for the board to entertain a motion to cover the 2 items and available for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
I make a motion to adopt and for the mayor to sign the Wake County Emergency Operation Plan and accept and authorize the town manager to sign the mutual aid agreement.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to adopt and for the mayor to sign the Wake County Emergency Operations Plan and to accept and authorize the town manager to sign the mutual aid agreement. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank y'all. Item 6C is a resolution requesting the North Carolina Department of Transportation to abandon the maintenance of a portion of Lake Glad Road. Mr. Bray.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Board of Commissioners. I'm here requesting a motion to approve the attached resolution and authorize the town manager to request that NCDOT abandon maintenance and accept the road section into the town's street system. This is a portion of Lake Glad Road beginning north of the Buffalo Creek Bridge, north to the transition into Haywood Street at the current end of the state maintenance. I'll go to a picture here. Oh, we don't have a picture there. All right, but it's the piece right there from north of the bridge that's going to right at Magnolia Town. So it's about 0.4 mile section of Lake Glad Road that we're looking to have abandoned and accepted for town maintenance. Following adoption of the local resolution, the request is provided to NCDOT to review and schedule for decision by the Transportation Board. The town has the responsibility to improve this section of road through the development agreement associated with the Magnolia Town subdivision in exchange for property provided by the developer for a public park and public works facility. Acceptance of the road section from the state will increase lane miles using the state POW bill funding for local road maintenance. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
I have two.
Yep.
Who'll have the maintenance responsibility for the bridge over Buffalo Creek after this?
The bridge would remain with NCDOT.
Perfect. And then I don't always track all these. I mean, if you don't have it right now, it's fine for this to be a follow-up after the meeting, but I know we have often request abandonments or speed limit reductions. Do you know, or could we get a list of pending requests with DOT for stuff? Those are the two categories I can think of. If there's something I'm forgetting, I'm interested in that too, that are pending somewhere, just of like what else is out there that we've asked for that we're waiting on to get back from them.
Certainly, we can provide that. We're looking into that right now and just following up on things.
I'll continue to make my push for speed limit reductions. I really am very, very interested in them.
There are citizens in the stands right now that would love that push.
All right, that's all.
You done? Anyone else? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the attached resolution and authorize the town manager to request the NCDOT abandon maintenance and accept the road section to the town street system as mentioned in the item, please.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to approve the attached resolution and authorize the town manager to request that the North Carolina DOT abandon maintenance and accept the road section into the town street system. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. We will move quickly into our other business. Update on board committees by town board members. We have one, Campo, Commissioner Eatman.
Campo meeting last week, 3 big topics, just for awareness. Happy to talk about them in more detail if anyone's interested. But the US 70 corridor, which has lots of other interstate names and letters, but the route from Wake County to Morehead City, presentation on that to connect the port with the triangle, as well as the 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, MTP. It's 2055. It's never too early to get involved in planning for transportation and planning efforts in Wendell. And as well as a similar update to the one we got from Ben Howell a couple weeks ago on the Wake Transit Plan. That's all.
Thank you. Moving to our commissioners' comments, we'll start with Commissioner Lutz.
Just want to just commend the Historical Society for their great job on the reverse raffle. It's become a kind of real fun event, and I kind of just think about even the Historical Society talking about cemeteries and just how much work they've done to have a museum in town, and it's kind of really cool to see, you know, how far that I feel like that kind of small organization has really furthered the town's historical efforts. Aside from that, just, just mindful for everybody, we have a lot of upcoming events in town. We just finished Meal Maine. We've got a International Food Festival. We've got Oktoberfest. We've got a Harvest Festival. A lot of things are coming up, so a lot of cool stuff. So getting out, being active, and supporting the town.
Thank you. Commissioner Eatman?
Nothing else from me tonight, Mayor.
Piggybacking on, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I owe you now 2 apologies. That's my first one, the second one in moments. Piggybacking on Commissioner Lutz, thank you, Carol. Thank you, Ray, Hugh, Mary Jo, Linda. I could go on and on with the Historical Society. You guys did a heck of a job, and we raised some money for a good cause. We really appreciate that. And also, somewhat self-serving, thank you to the Wendell Rotary Club for setting up the chairs, the tables, and things of that nature. Thank you for that. Second thing I alluded to earlier, my apologies, Madam Mayor. I got hit under the table with a gavel. 2 people have an emergency breakthrough on my phone, even though I silenced my mom and my dad. I hope they're okay. I hope you're watching, and I'll call you when I leave the meeting. Sorry, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Did not hit him with my gavel. If I had, y'all would all know it. Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing really to add, other than just, there's a lot going on, a lot of fun stuff happening in town. And my wife and I have enjoyed, we take Wendell days at times, and that is just kind of ride around, visit businesses, eat at the different places, which is my fun thing to do. Check on progress, what's happening, and just a lot of really, really great things going on. So I think we do a good job of keeping folks updated. Transparency is a big thing, connectivity is a big thing, and I think if you spend any time out and about, you'll see that there's really a lot of cool stuff going on. So if for some reason you have a question, feel free to reach out. No, I don't know what fast food restaurant or mom and pop, or I don't get mixed up in what businesses are going where, but a lot of cool things. You can see the construction, and lots of paper on windows, because there's a lot of secrets that are behind those papers. Not our butcher. He's got open windows. He wants you to come by and see what's happening. So a lot of cool things happening. So thanks to staff that helps facilitate all that cool stuff. Thank you.
Okay. Quick reminder, this Saturday, September 27th, I believe it was mentioned earlier, is the International Food and Music Festival. It's at the J. Ashley Walltail Square and the Women's Club lot across the street. That section of Cypress will be closed, so that'll be all in that area. It's always a fun time. There's raffles, food, performances, and all kinds of entertainment. So I encourage you to get out and check it out. I believe it starts at 11 and goes until 5, and that's this Saturday. Next thing, I wanted to congratulate Connor Tu from Eastwake High School. He was named the Scholar Athlete of the Week this week, and he's from Eastwake High School. He plays soccer, and we're very proud of him. That's a regional thing, I believe, that is done, and so that's not just local. That's a big deal, and we're very proud of him for that. Wish him the best luck this year. I think he's a senior this year. The last thing, I spoke at Wendell Elementary School to the 3rd grade this past week. This is the time of year where all the schools are covering local government and civics and things like that. So I went and spoke at Wendell Elementary School about being a mayor. I'm already chuckling. So how to become a mayor, what do I do, what are my days like, things like that. And I got a variety of questions. Some of them were very specific to a project that they're working on, where they're doing a little planning project. It's planning month at Wendell Elementary School too. So they're planning a little thing, and they were asking me some real specific questions about zoning and stuff, which I was like, wow, that's really great that they're learning a lot of stuff. But at the end, they always get to just ask all kinds of questions, and you can always see the teachers just kind of go, okay, what are they going to say? Well, the best one I got this time, and I love to tell y'all, was, do I live in a mansion? And I've gotten that one before, and I had to say no, and I really feel like I need to probably talk to my husband about that, because I feel like I'm letting down all these little children that I don't live in a mansion. They just look at me, and they're really disappointed. There's a lot of disappointment. And I'm like, well, no, just like all of you. I live in a house just like the rest of you. So anyhow, it's very cute, and they're very innocent in their beliefs about what they think that we all do here, and it's very sweet. And I always enjoy my time with them. They were bright. Their questions were wonderful. They were polite, well-mannered. They thanked me for coming, and I always enjoy my time at our schools. So thank you, Wendell Elementary, for inviting me. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned.